So how did you come up with the concept of center? Tell me a little bit about your journey in terms of creativity.
Well, since I started at Penn State in 1999, and when I started with teaching courses, I decided every day to break up the lecture with a quote from either anybody from somebody famous, Teddy Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan, to my grandmother, my grandfather, the whole range of quotes. And the students seem to like that, not only as a small diversion, 30-second diversion just to break the class up and keep things fresh, but oftentimes I got notes from students saying, wow, that was a really impactful statement you said today. I needed to hear that. And I came to realize how hungry these students are. Students I teach are typically 21, 22 years old, sometimes 20 years old. And they're very hungry for how do I live my life and what am I going to do with my life? So some of these statements started as that. And then after a while, I started realizing that stories are very powerful. So I can remember some students coming to me and telling me stories about a particular relative who used to take them to a beach every year and have a scheme for talking with them about an idea each summer. And over a period of years, they would gain that perspective. So I got into not only talking about a quote, but discussing a brief story and some concepts that go with those stories. That's what eventually became Center, the concepts. I started trying to figure out how do these various stories piece together, and that was it.
Interesting. And in terms of your journey, in terms of creativity, if you can chart that a little bit, in terms of how you've seen yourself grow in terms of your creative development over the years.
Mm-hmm. In many ways, I think a lot of that transformation happened in me when I was in my early 30s. There was a program on a political program in which I saw Peggy Noonan talking about a book that she had just written called When Character Was King. It was about Ronald Reagan. And there was a story she told about with the Reagan moment, when he got shot. And I remember as a boy when that happened. And I started reading about Ronald Reagan, and I came to realize that I, as a person who had done well in school, who had gotten my PhD, didn't have the capacity to make the changes in the world that someone like Ronald Reagan did as a C student from Eureka College. And part of the reason for that is he was willing to step out and try things and try big ideas. Well, around that time, I met Jack Matson, who was my colleague, who was my co-teacher for this course in creativity, innovation, and change. And Jack's concept is an intelligent fast failure. He had an event early in his life in which he came to realize that if you're going to be creative, that there will be inevitable failures that you have to go through in order to establish that creativity and build it and grow it. It was the first time that I came to realize the power of failure in becoming creative. So that was the genesis of it. And I've been failing ever since.